Okay. Okay, we're gonna start you off. I'm gonna move you guys so I can see what I'm doing here. And we are going to, I'm gonna share screen and um, I'm gonna walk you through sort of simplifying the Affinity. I found my pages here. The Affinity platform. Now I have it on here. I have it linked now in the bottom of my screen. So I'm going to open it up. And as I'm opening it up, I'm going to tell you that, and I think I put this in an email, but since we did the first webinar, Affinity changed everything. So what I learned for that first webinar, I've had to relearn entirely new. I'm okay with it because it's really a lovely platform to work on, and in truth, I found it very appealing and pretty simple and comparative to what you might have experienced on Publisher. But when I first looked at it, I was very overwhelmed by the platform and what it looked like because I am not a graphic designer by any stretch, and so my goal today is to help you um, simplify the workspace so that it works for you. And then as you learn, you can start to grow. All right. So just to give you a little bit of background of what happened, Affinity had a number of different platforms. One was for basically like graphic designing. One was for vectors, which is like creating things. One was, I guess that's the same thing. One was for Photoshop editing, so like a Photoshop kind of thing, and one was for publishing. And they combined them all into one, and they actually made them free if you have a Canva account. So you need a Canva account first before you can get Affinity, but it's super easy once you have the Canva account. And I don't even think you need the Canva Pro. I think you just need a regular Canva account. Although, again, you can get Canva Pro, which is a better option for free if you're a nonprofit. And if you're struggling with that, we'll walk you through that. Okay. So when you open Canva, it's not going to look quite like this because these pieces here are things that I've already started to work on. Um, but we're gonna go home and we're gonna just start fresh. Okay. So this is essentially what the screen is gonna look like when you open it up. And it can be a little intimidating. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna open a new file. So actually I'm gonna do something here because I have made some changes here that you may see when you open your Canva. So there's this menu here, but we're going to start by opening a new file. So and I'm going to send you something that's going to outline all of this so that you understand how to do this. And of course, you can go back to this video again and again. We're going to open file. We're going to click new. Okay. My suggestion would be that you open a letter file, this one here, the letter ANSIA. And then there are some things you're going to want to do over on this menu on the side because you want a multi-page document. Okay. So put in however many pages you have on your document. I'm going to open this as a 6-page document. You can add pages later if you need to, but for now we're going to open a 6-page document. You're going to want margins, and here I'm going to just put a 0.5 margin. And then it will sync them all. If you don't want them the same, you're going to click this so that they're not locked in. Okay. That's all I'm going to do for now, just to make it simple. And I'm going to do create document at the bottom for real. It's slow. Sorry. I'm going to give it a minute for the document to pop up here. Okay. Now it's already taken some stuff out of here. Actually, it's actually put it into a format that I've already created. Yours is going to look different than this. I just want to, I want, um, okay, I'm going to show you how I got this from that, um, what you saw before. So the first thing I think you should do is create, this is called the studio menu. We're going to create a studio. So you're going to click on these three dots here. Sorry, I want to go back to something. Once you have a document created, you can go to new from last presets. Okay. Just for your future information. So we're going to click on these three dots here. We're going to go create studio. And you're going to name the studio something. So for the sake of today, we're going to do a test bulletin. And this is going to be the studio that we're going to work in. Now, this is just so that you can see it. So we're gonna make it orange because I really like orange, and we're gonna put a cat. I know I don't like cats. We're gonna put a duck in it. Okay, that's just an identifier, and we're gonna create it. Okay, so now this lives up here. And if you don't want to see the other ones, you can actually just close them and take them off. And so now we're going to go up to vector. We're going to take it. So now the only studio you have is that test bulletin. The other ones may just be confusing. This is how to, this is the graphic design site. This pixel one is manipulating pictures. Layout is publisher, basically. We're just creating it in a different format, a different version. Okay. All right. Once you've got that set up, we're going to, much of this stuff that you see here, I've already put in, and I thought I was coming in with a clean slate and I didn't, but for the sake of this, I'm going to teach you how I did this. So the first thing we're going to do is in this space up here, in this first shaded bar, we're going to right click. Okay. And again, I'm going to send you the directions for all of this. When I right click here, I'm going to customize toolbar. Now, you're going to see here that there are three toolbars. So when we look at tools, we're talking about this bar over here. That's the tool menu. Let's call it the tool menu as opposed to the toolbar. Okay. So we're going to simplify. When you open it up, you may have things in here, you don't understand, need, want, or there may be things that aren't here that you actually do want. Okay. So let's look at the things that you're going to want to add in there. And the way you're going to do that is you're actually going to, I'm going to reset tools here. So now there's nothing over in that side if you see that. Okay. So we're going to walk through the things that I think you're probably going to want in that tool menu. Okay. So under general, you're going to want the move tool. Hang on a second here. This one here, this with the arrow, you're going to want that up there. Oops. Over. Okay. You're going to want the view tool. That's that little hand. We're going to move that over. You're going to want the zoom. Doesn't matter what order those are in. Now, some of you may want the color picker tool if you like to draw color from or pull color from a photo that you have, or your say your logo, you want to use the colors in your logo. The color picker tool will do that. We're not going to do that today, but you may use it if it's something you're familiar with. Okay. Down under the vector tool, we want the node. Where are you here? The node tool. We're going to pull that over. The pen tool. Pull that over. The place tool. This is the important one. Place is how you're going to get images into your documents. I like the transparency tool, and I'll show you why after. And then there's a vector crop tool, and I'm going to show you why we want that one as well later. Okay, moving down to the text. Put everything up there. Text tool. We want the artistic, that's like your artistic text box from Publisher. You want your frame text tool, that's making a text box. I gotta check my notes here. And you may want the table tool. If you occasionally insert a table into your document, you may want that table tool. Okay. That's all I would put in there for now, unless there are others that you're familiar with that you think you want. Under the shape tool, what I would do is take this box here and pull that over. And I'll show you what that actually gives you all those shapes that are in there. So if you want to insert a shape somewhere, that puts all of them at your beck and call. Now, while there's nothing, I'm not going to show you anything else in here. If there are other things that you may want later on, you can use that. While this box is open, I can actually rearrange this tool menu. So if I want the picture thing up here and the text box thing up here, and then I will put that text thing there. This maybe falls under photos, so I'm going to use these under the photos just so that I'm organized in what I'm doing here. Okay. All right, now I'm going to close this. Now, if I go back in and I'm like, oh, there's things here I don't really want, I can go back into that and I can drag them back and say, I don't really want that. I'm going to take that off. Okay. Up to you. All right. Now we're going to go to, sorry, I shouldn't have closed that. We're going to go back in and we're going to do this panel on the left because that was the one that was most overwhelming to me when I first opened the Affinity page. So over on this menu, I would turn everything off except the following, which is what I have. So the color panel, I wouldn't put that up there unless you're manipulating photos and such. I would do history. And again, you don't even really have to have history on, but history tells you the sort of what you've done, what you've moved, and the order in which you've done things. I would put on layers right here. I would do pages because you want to see your pages. I would do text styles. Where are we here? Text styles, and I would do transform and then close. If you have other things that you're familiar with, you can add them. And then the last one is this toolbar up here. That's this. Now, I'm going to pull these back because most of these do not exist when you open your document. Okay. So these are the ones that I would add under this, under the toolbar up top. And we'll work through them a little bit today. Okay. You want align, which is different than alignment. You actually want both of them, in my opinion, align and alignment. Okay. You want to scroll down here to remove background. That's if you get a picture, a photo of something, and you want to remove the background so you can wrap text around it. And then the big thing, and I'm going to tell you that I spent an hour and a half the other day trying to figure this out, and it was far too simple, but you want wrapping. You want to be able to wrap your text around a photo. Right now, that's all I would use. And certainly, again, you can always add or subtract from that as you go along. Okay, I'm going to pause for a minute and just, are there questions or have you thoughts as we go along? You can just unmute yourselves. No? Okay. All right, let's keep going here. I gotta make this bigger to share screen again. Let's keep going. All right, I'm gonna move you people over here so you're out of my way. Okay, let's look at how we begin to set things up. And in a minute, we're gonna go back to a document that already existed, the one of the ones that I converted. But for now, let's just look at how do you actually create what you're accustomed to in Publisher. How are you going to do that in Affinity? So we want a text box. We're going to click on the little text box and we're going to create a text box. See when I hit the middle there, that green in the middle, that's how you know you're in the middle, right? That's how you know. Now, maybe you want a little bit of space in the middle, so you're going to go over a little bit. But for now, let's just let that live in the middle. I meant to bring up on here. I just want to be able to copy and paste some text. So I'm going to open up a file over here that lets me do that. That isn't, hang on, I got to find a file. I meant to do this. My apologies. Kevin. I don't know where it went. Oh, there it is. Okay. This is a prayer I pulled up. Okay. So I'm just going to copy and paste some text to stick it in there for the sake of not having to. Okay. So let's just, I don't love this, but that's okay. We're going to work with it because I'm going to be able to show you a couple things. So again, much like you've been used to in Publisher, you want to make this bigger. So one of the big things to notice here is see this red arrow? So we have two options with this red arrow. What this red arrow is telling me is that the text exceeds the size of the text box that I put it in. So what we want, we have a couple of different options. I can click off this and say, I don't care. I only want that size text box, and whatever fits in there, that's what's going to live in there. Or we can go back and open that back up, and we can now just make the text box bigger until it fits. Don't know about why this is over so far here, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. But the other thing we can do is say, okay, you remember that one bulletin we looked at that was super wordy? I actually want this to go on another page. So I can drag this, whoops, not from there. I can take this and drag it. Hang on. There we go. To another text box. Maybe. Okay, why is this not? There we go. So now it's connecting those two text boxes. Now, I have not tried this, so I'm going to see if I can actually drag this to another page. I'm sure I can. We're just going to have to figure out how to do that. Okay, so keep that in mind. I'm going to make a note for dragging to another page, but we'll do that later. But it's a tool that, you can put that, and then we're actually going to delete this. Now, if you want to delete something, your best bet is to go over here into the layers. So right now I have the menu on the right here. I have the layers up, and that's the best way to manipulate something. So we're going to click on this, and I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to delete. I'm going to undo that because I did the wrong one. So I'm going to go back up here to edit. I'm going to undo that delete. I should have noticed that this says 1 and this says 2. So I'm going to go to 2 and I'm going to delete that. Okay. And then I'm going to make this text box bigger till we hit that. There we go. I really don't know why this is over so far. And I don't love it because I don't think it's going to be helpful. I'm going to try and copy and print something out, copy and paste something else into here. just to make life a little bit easier. I have some really bad files over here. That's what I'm learning right now. They're terrible. Let's try this one. Okay. All right. So here's the next thing I want us to learn here is how to, if you'll notice, that's hit the halfway mark on this page, right? Did you see that red line? Make sure we're there, and then we're gonna see it. That's how we know we're on the halfway mark. Okay. I want to insert an image. Now, one of the things I've learned, one of the things we didn't think that Affinity could do that I've learned it actually can do is it can give us access to images. So I'm going to teach you how to do that right now. We're going to go up here to Window. When I click on Window, I'm going to go to Layout. And when I go to Layout, I'm going to go to Stock. And that's going to give us, I'm going to pull this over here just to, and that's going to give us access to two different places where we can get images, Pexels or Pixabay. So for this, I'm gonna just pull up Candle and let's explore what this is under Pexels. And I'm just gonna explore what's available under Candle. And you can see, pull this down, that there are lots of different options here. Okay, let's play with Pixabay because this gives us another option. Pixabay is another, these are all free images, so you can use them without worrying about whether or not we're going to get charged because we've used an image that someone owns and it's not free. These would all be free images, and you can see you can continue to scroll down here and find lots of images. But say you don't actually want a photo, you want it to be more of a drawing type or more of an icon. Here are some options. Under Pixabay, if you click vector, you're getting some of these, drawings. I don't know what you call them, icons, whatever. Okay. Um, let's see what happens if we put in here Advent candle. Got to spell it right. Okay. So there's your, Advent candle here. Okay. I'm gonna take this out because I'm gonna pull this over. So it's gonna ask you, the images are provided by a third party. They're not provided by Affinity or Canva. By adding the images to your design, you're agreeing to Pixabay's terms and conditions. We're clicking I understand. Okay. So now we're gonna take this over and we're gonna copy it here. Now, one of the things, every time I tried this, these images are humongous. So obviously we're going to want to squish them down. Okay. So now if I put it in the box, the problem is it's on top of the words. We want to get that, we want the words around the image. We want the image to interrupt. So here we're going to go to wrapping. And this goes to, the tight, square. Let's go square. Square and tight are going to look the same because it's actually to jump around it, which means we can move it in the middle here, anywhere. Okay. Now I'm going to show you, and then wherever it lives in that box, and I'm sure you've all done this before, figured out how to get that aligned in a box where you want it. I'm going to delete that and I'm going to go to, let me see if I can. Okay, I'm going to take this candle. Oops, what did I just do? I don't want to. I'm going to take this candle and I'm going to put the candle in. Okay, now we're going to go wrapping. We're going to go tight. And I'm not sure why we're not getting. So this, I do not know why we're not getting the full candle in there. I'm going to try that again because I've probably done something wrong. I don't know. I don't know what I did. Take that guy out, put this guy back in. Oh, he's big. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. That I'm not getting the full picture in. Mostly because I just want to show you something. Let's try. I'm just going to see if I can do it with this. Um, Sucker is huge. Okay, I'm going to try and remove the background on this and see what happens. Has anybody used a remove background tool on any program that they've used? Okay. So basically what it's doing is if you can see here, a lot of that, if we look at the original candle, like the room in the background, now when I put it over here, now when I go to wrap it, if I go tight, it's actually wrapping right around the candle, if you see that. Whereas if I had the background in there, it would wrap around the square. Does that make sense to what I'm saying? So removing the background can be helpful in the sense of it just gives you a little bit more to play with in terms of sort of wrapping text around it, or um, kind of even uh, melding it with your page, I guess. And let's do this one. I'm going to take that one out, and I'm going to take this candle over, which is probably going to be humongous. Okay, so now we're going to move this guy over. And now if I remove the background from here, now we just have the candle. And so now when I go to text wrapping, then it's wrapping around the candle and the flame, as you see here. Now, if you want to see what this looks like without your text, without your box around it, you're going to go to preview mode. Okay. And then we're going to go back to this. Okay. So that's just one way that, adding your pictures is easier than actually I originally thought, because I was playing with it, having to import pictures. Okay. You can still do that. You could go here. Let's say I want to put in this poster of Julianne. Now I have two options when I do that. If I just click on the page, then it's going to just put it in the size that it wants to put it in. And then of course you can play with it. Okay. However, if I were to do that again, so again, I'm clicking on this insert picture. I'm going to this picture of Julianne that I have here. Okay. And now I'm gonna drag it right from the start, and then that puts it in the size that I want it to go in. Okay. All right. Let's look at how we're gonna play with what's in this box. I'm gonna turn this off. Okay. So part of what I want to do in this, and again, this menu right here is kind of what you're accustomed to with the text box. So this is your text frame. Right now, there's no fill and there's no box around it. So if you want to if you want to fill that with some colors, you want to, highlight it a little bit, you can determine whether or not you want it, bright or you want to be able to see through it. We want to change the color. Right now, we're going to go back to no color up here. You can also go white. Okay. So to put a box around it, you can create whatever color box you want. And here we're going to go to, oops, we're going to go here. We want black and we want black. Pull these all over. Okay. And we want a little darker line. And so now we have a black box, which we will see when we go into preview mode. We see we got a box there, okay? And you can play with that however you like. Going back into this box, I don't like the way this is sitting right up at the top of the box. And so I want to align it in the box. And I got to figure out where that is. Oh, help me. Oh, here. Nope, here. So when I first looked, I thought I thought it was a T. It's not. It's your alignment of the paragraph. So if I want to center that vertically in the box, I'm going to click on that. If I want it to live at the bottom of the box, I can click on that. I will tell you, I started to work on, we're going to center it vertically and we're going to center it horizontally. Oops. Oh, that's justified. We don't want it justified. We want it centered vertically. One of the things that I was trying to figure out, which I have not got a good answer for you yet, is how to set up margins within the text box. And I will continue to work on that for when we meet again. All right. Okay. Any questions on any of that? Just unmute yourself. Good. Okay. I'm
Sorry,
gonna
Claire.
go
Sorry,
go for
Claire. I
it.
do have a question.
Yeah.
And I meant to ask that to begin with. Do we select a page size before we get going, or is that at the
Yeah. So
end?
let me walk you through that again. You're going to go to File. You're going to go to New. When you go to New, it's going to give you all of these options.
Gotcha.
Okay. And from there, you can do Ledger, like you can do your 11 by 17. Um, but again, this goes into what I think was it Sharon that was saying at the beginning? Then when you shrink it, when you put it into a PDF, it's so big. Going into your letter size, it takes it that. Okay. And then from there, you're going to select. So if you were to select letter, you're going to select multiple pages and how many pages you want. Um, whether you want to arrange them horizontally, whether you want to arrange them from the right side page. So that's because your first page is really only a right side, correct? You know what I mean? That's the front of your bulletin. Or if you want it, you already have a front page. And when we come back next time, one of the things we'll talk about is what I want to work on creating a template so that you have a template to work off of, but also how do you insert those things that are like your front page is almost always, if not exactly the same, it's pretty similar. You might be changing date or what day it is in the liturgical calendar. Um, and then the advertisements is going to be pretty static. And how do you set that up? So we'll work through that as we go along. But for now, I just wanted to give you the basics. We're not going to start a new page. What we're going to do right now is I want to open up an existing document. And so the easiest way to do that for now is to just click on the A. And this gives you some of the documents that I already have. These are training modules. Eventually, you'll have like recents. I mean, all my recents fit on one page because I haven't done that much. Eventually, what I want us to be able to do is create a template, and so we'll be able to do that. But for now, let's go back here, and I'm going to open up. This is a bulletin that was converted um, using the tool that I had for conversion. So let's just give it a minute to open. Um, And so this is how it landed in the conversion, which is actually pretty good. Not all of them are converted quite as nicely as this. But this gives you an idea of how, what exists here and how we can manage it. So if we're looking at the various pieces, sometimes the images didn't come over very well, and it actually created a different box for the images. One of the things I want to talk about before we get into, I'm gonna go through a few things on this with you. Has anybody ever worked with layers before? No. Okay. It's actually a pretty easy concept. It's just it can feel a little overwhelming. And so if you see over here, when it's got the images, and I know this is hard to see on a shared screen, it's hard to see in real life. I don't know if I can make it any bigger. Let's see. All it does is okay. But each of these has like an icon describing what it is. So this is a text box and it's just lines, but there's a little arrow underneath it. Okay, so let's go with layer one, which is, it looks like layer one. Well, you can see here. Layer one is this box, and these boxes. Okay. Because you can see from the picture here. And then under layer one are all the things that are layered under there. So this image is the image of the rosary down here. This is from Pope Leo. Where does it say that? This box here. Okay. Um, Down here is the do you have an announcement box. Um, Here is the parish prayer network. Where is this? This one here. Okay. So these are all the things that live in that layer. Okay. They're sort of nestled underneath there. So essentially, pretty much everything from this page is nestled as one layer all to, well, that's not really true. Yeah, it is. Oh, I'm sorry. I take that back. This layer has right now the images, two images, and I don't know why there's two. But the layering, so sometimes if you can't see something, you go put something in and you're like, I can't see that. It's because it's tucked underneath. There may actually be two rosaries here. Um, yeah, so probably this is, if I move that, I want to see what this does. So now if you can see how that rosary disappeared under something else? It's probably under this rosary. And I'm not really sure why, because I'm working with a different file, an old file. But now what I'm going to do is I want to restore that. So I'm going to go up to edit and I'm going to undo. Now I'm going to show you something else here before we do that. In history, you can see sort of what I've done. Okay. So we're going to go up to edit and we're going to undo the current selection. We're going to undo transform. I'm going to undo transform again. I'm going to undo current selection. Okay. And that brings us back to the rosary. So essentially, I think what's happened here is image, I don't know which is which. I think the for image two is actually the box that rosary image is living in. And then, oh, they're both image two. This one here is the actual rosary. Because if I move it, I'm moving it out of the box that it was living in. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like sitting on a box. Okay. Um, so your layers, let's go to another page. And again, it jumps really, it's slow to jump to the page. Come on. There we go. Um, so again, let's take a look at this little guy here. So it has an arrow, which means there's a couple of things going on here. So there's probably a box, and the people are living in that box. So when we go to text wrap around that, I just want to see what happens here. So it's wrapping around this box because that's the higher image that we've asked it to wrap around. Let's see what happens if we click on this box and then go text wrap tight. No, it doesn't change anything because it's living in that box. If we were to take this image and we're going to put it up here, now the box, now you can actually see the box because it's separate and the people live separately. Okay. So if we want to marry those two again, we can take this down and put it under there. And now the box and the people are there together. I'm going to undo all of that. Edit. Okay. Now they're living in that box. So up in this one here, now, whoever sent me this could have had this in, it might not have transferred as well as I thought it did because maybe these were separate boxes, which we can sort of tell from this sacraments thing. So I want to go here. And again, you can see that there's a drop-down menu. So we know if we click on this, it actually has, hang on, I'm going to go to this box, which is the box that's living, this little box. If I make this bigger, you can see all of the things that are in the image that she has just cut down and put the box around so you can only see the confirmation image. Does that make sense? So as if you're taking your converted document, you might have to play with some of that for a bit to figure out how to manage those images. The one thing you're not going to be able to do is drag these off to the side and save them. If I drag this off to the side, when I go to the next page, it's gone. Okay? No, in fact, it's gone entirely. So I'm going to undo that. So you may have to create a file where those live that you can just insert a photo from the file on your computer because Canva doesn't do it either, and so there's really no way to do that. Okay, all right, that is all I'm going to bombard you with today. It's a lot. I know it's a big change. So my suggestion for you for the next month, if you don't have it downloaded, download it and play with it. Now, I will tell you that I've spent hours over the last week watching videos about how to manage some of this stuff. Don't overwhelm yourself. Start slow. You do not have to make this change immediately. You want to get yourself comfortable with it. Maybe if you have an insert that you need to put in your bulletin, start by creating the insert instead of the whole bulletin. So you've got something that you can create to give you a purpose for playing with it. Give yourself time to manipulate some of this stuff. I'm going to be sending out, and it will live on that SharePoint page, a document with sort of step by step for setting up the space. Okay. I may even include a link to a video that tells you what every tool does. Now, it's a little overwhelming because it goes through way more tools than you will need, but it's also very you can sort of skip ahead to the various tools to figure out what it is you want, need, or will use. Okay. Questions, comments,
I
thoughts?
I think that video on all the tools would be super helpful, Claire.
Mm,
Thank you. Yeah. And I think for me personally, I'm gonna have to, as you said, just practice, dive in, take some time because your tutorial here is great, but I think hands-on is gonna even
yes.
enhance what you're teaching us. Yeah.
Yeah, and I will tell you, when I first looked at it, I was like, oh my God, how are we even gonna like that's why if we can convert what's existing, at least you've got a platform to start with. And if we simplify the space so that there's not a bunch of things that you're like, I don't even know what that was for. Like I don't even know what I would use that for. So that you're working in a space that isn't overwhelming. And then once you start to play with it, it's pretty intuitive in terms of, if you know how to create a text box or if you know how to insert a picture, it's just figuring out where those things live in um, in this format. All right. Okay. So I will be putting some more stuff in the SharePoint file. I will send out an email just saying everything lives there because I want people to sort of acclimate themselves to finding it. And if you have questions along the way, or if you have specific things that you're like, okay, I've done this, but I need to figure out how to do this, that will help give me, I have like an outline of what we're going to cover with each of these sessions, but I want it to be super helpful for you. And if I could just go and sit with each of you, I would do that, but I can't. So if you have something you specifically want for next steps, please let me know so that I can um, personalize the teaching to that. Okay, great. All right, thanks, you guys. We have lots of time before you have to change. So for now, you can just stay in your comfortable publisher and get through Christmas. Let's say that. All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
thanks,
Claire.
Claire. Thank
All
you.
right. All right. Take care,
Bye-bye.
everybody. God bless.